Joining me now, my wonderful Friday night regular, Nine radio broadcaster, Luke Grant. Luke, great to have you on the show, as always, on a Friday, kicking off into the weekend. I want to start, if we can, with this breaking news on the Billa family. That's the mum and dad who came to Australia separately with people smugglers.
Yes.
When they got here, they applied for refugee status. They were rejected 7 times, I'll remind my viewers, including by the High Court. They had 2 little girls born in Australia. They were set to be sent back to Sri Lanka under the former government. There were a lot of legal injunctions that stalled their deportation. And now a change of government has seen the new Immigration Minister, Andrew Giles, step in under his special ministerial powers. And he's made the decision this afternoon to allow them to stay here permanently. We haven't heard directly from the minister, but legally, I can't see how he hasn't created a precedent. They came illegally. They were found not to be refugees. He's allowing them to stay. That's a big shift in Australia's policy in this area, and it's a marketing dream for people smugglers.
Could not agree with you more. It's exactly what it is, and we only have to go back. They keep reminding us how long the government's been in power for, 10 weeks, where they said there'd be no difference between the approach of the coalition and the approach of an Albanese government. Of course, we know temporary protection visas were up for grabs. But this is extraordinary. This Giles character has walked around Australia for the last 3 years. If he wasn't whinging about the pandemic or whinging about whatever Morrison did that day, he was saying Australia is a racist country. So here we go, first crack on a Friday afternoon, so no one's really looking, although you're looking and I'm looking and our viewers are looking. He says, oh, yeah, fair enough. And it is. It's the honeypot on the table. Here you go, just go there. Wait long enough. The mugs in Australia, the taxpayers will fund any action you need. Even if you lose 7 times, you'll find a minister, a good bloke he is, who'll let you stay forever. And it's a farce, Peter. It's an absolute farce.
You are shrewd. I picked up the same point. It gets dropped out around 4:30 this afternoon. It's dropped out, we call it throwing out the trash in politics on a Friday afternoon because it's generally not picked up. Journalists have long gone. Of course, the Prime Minister's on leave next week, so he's not going to cop any questions about this. It wasn't done when the Parliament was sitting at any time over the last 2 weeks, so there could have been a debate and scrutiny about this decision. I'm not saying the family are not good people. There was nothing to stop them returning to Sri Lanka and applying to come to Australia the right way and not triggering this precedent that goes against our refugee laws. But that's what's happened, and I fear we've got, 4 boats already that have been intercepted by our military, our Navy. There's something like 17 that the Sri Lankan Navy has intercepted this year alone. This is going to get worse before it gets better, and I think Labor do not have good form in this area about cleaning up this mess when it gets out of control.
Absolutely right. Remember what Scott Morrison used to say? He said, look, Labor don't believe in this stuff. And this is proof positive. They could have gone back to Sri Lanka. They could have then applied and probably would have been looked after, given the fact that 2 girls were born here. But the rules are the rules. And the rules are there to stop people dying at sea. You know, let's open the door and let people in and watch 1,200 people drown. That's not what we're about. They don't respect, they don't believe in, they don't support. The coalition were right to raise the issue. I think lots of people had moved on and thought, oh, no, that's not a problem anymore. How wrong we were. It's a problem.
We'll see what happens from here. New faces in the Parliament, but plenty of old tricks, Luke. I'm interested in how you saw the fortnight. We had that very positive news poll the Prime Minister's way. I think he has performed well. I also think, though, pretty low expectations. He just basically had to get out of bed every day and not stuff up like he did in the campaign, and people would reward him. But very big numbers for Anthony Albanese. What do you make of the last fortnight?
Well, look, I think those numbers are, you know, the tour of the Pacific and around the world. You know, Australia is now French lovers again. So it's probably, I really don't know how many people are paying attention given the fact that we don't vote for 3 years. I tell you what, Peter, one thing that I've carried with me for the last couple of days and that I just think is a bad look, and I say this to anyone within the federal parliament, please don't clap yourself. Don't clap yourself. They had a couple of questions they answered from the coalition. They thought they were pretty smart and the coalition's going to take a hammering in question time for probably 2 years. And then when the climate bill, don't forget, this is a bill that they didn't need. They say that. This didn't have to go to Parliament. They actually said that. It went there for one reason, and that was to apparently show the rest of the world that we're out of the Nordic order. I'm sick of hearing that. You've got corruption and waste in Queensland. You've got an absolute joke playing out of the New South Wales government where the Premier has no control, and this left of centre would be, if he could be keen, is likely to see the coalition get hammered next year. You've got Matthew Guy and you've got Daniel Andrews, B1 and B2 in Victoria. No Australian, even a biased Australian who is of the left or of the right, can look at the bodies around the parliaments around the country and say, gee, we're served well. Don't clap yourself. You're not entitled to do that. And you're not looking after the people that I talk to, that watch this show, that listen to the radio shows I host, that can't afford to have their heaters on at night, and now put, a couple of litres of fuel in their car because they can't drive very far, they can't afford a bloody lettuce in Australia. Don't clap yourself. You've got nothing to be proud of. It's all been virtue signalling. And whilst it'll get a tick from the ABC and the media left, Peter, it has been astonishingly underwhelming in my view.
We are living off decades of good government. We haven't had good government in recent times, but we are living off the largesse of good Labor people and good coalition people who have come before us, just like we are free and we once were fair and we once were equal because of what soldiers have done in our name overseas, wearing our uniform and under our flag. And now we can't even agree that politicians elected in this country should stand behind that flag or in front of that flag or and honour it. I just think we're heading to hell in a handcart. Talk to me about New South Wales. Elliott and Key in this showdown. I would have hoped it would be a fair fight. I would have hoped David Elliott might have come out ahead, but it looks like there's been a factional stitch-up. This is not for Deputy Premier, of course. This is for Deputy Liberal Leader. But if it goes to Matt Kean, it gives him plenty of clout, particularly around the policy table between now and the March election. Give us your sense of what he will do to the chances of the Peta government to survive.
Well, he has no shame. I can tell you from the feedback I've had on every show I've been on this week, people don't like him. People won't cop him as a significant Liberal figure. I mean, he is. He's a state treasurer, but he's of the left. He wants to go harder on emissions than the federal Labor Party. My goodness me. Liberals don't cop him, but he's very well connected. He's got the numbers. He'll certainly dwarf David Elliott, who's a fighter in the vote. He's got the support of big lobbying firms who are closely tied to the left of the Liberal Party. And look, I think, Peter, they were probably gone. Dominic Perrottet, as you said earlier, good man, but as Premier, he's been thrown a couple of curveballs and those around him haven't helped much. I think Chris Minns shapes up and looks pretty good, to be honest with you. He doesn't look that extreme. I think they're gone. I think whatever happens next week will just make it either really bad or just leave it at kind of terrible, to be honest.
Hey, just before we go, I've been listening to you on Money News this week. You've been filling in. You've done a brilliant job. A lot of discussion on energy. I've found it fascinating. You've spoken to a lot of experts. Things are pretty crook, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You know what? No one said, right, we've got this bill through. So what does that do about Lismore and its flooding? Queensland is flooding. The temperature, what's it going to be now? The Great Barrier Reef, will it now be saved? Oh, hang on, it's already been saved. It's saving itself. You know what? The thing is, the business lobby seemed to me, Peter, to be saying, oh, we've just got to get on board. You can't make billion-dollar decisions because you've just got to get on board. I spoke to a fellow this week, I know you heard it, about gas. If the Prime Minister, if those in government want to do something and say to Australia, cop this, please ensure we have enough of our gas in the domestic market on the east, have the supply there so that the price is back to where it was, $7, $8 a gigajoule, not the 40, it's $5.50 in the west. There's so much they could be doing, Peter, but I think they've all signed up to, we don't want to be left behind, we're on the green train, go us. I don't see much interrogation of this issue by anyone, and boy, it's just so sad. It really is.
It's so critical, Luke. It's a complex issue, though, and most of the media don't touch it. Congrats to you for having a go this week.